Hey everybody, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Do me a favor before we get started. I need you to hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need you to do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you will not miss an episode. So we're going to talk about the Fed cuts, and we're also going to talk about quantitative easing, which is a terminology that's going around. So first of all, with the Fed cuts, I'm going to talk about that and how that will impact you personally. All right, so the Fed cuts. So December 10th, they did a cut by 25 basis points. And what that is, you just move the decimal point over two places. So it's 0.25%, 0.25%. So 25 basis points, move the decimal point over two to the left is 0.25%. So that's the cut. 0.25%. In other words, 25 basis points. This happened December 10th. So, what will be the effect of that? What's the bottom line? All right, so a decrease in how much the credit cards are charging you. Now, this may just be a little bit, right? Because it's 0.25% cut. So, a decrease in the credit card rate that they're charging you, a decrease in the rate of any small business loan that you may have. As far as the mortgage rate, it's not affecting mortgage rates. All right. So it encourages borrowing. That's what they want. They want more people to borrow, and it's encouraging investing. All right. So we got the decrease in the price of the credit card, decrease in the price of personal loans, decrease in the interest rates for HELOCs, things like that. So makes it also easier for banks to loan money. All right. An effect of that was an increase in stock prices. So if you're in the stock market, you will see that your stocks have gone up. So there's a direct correlation between any time there's a Fed cut and the stock prices. So when the Fed cuts the rate, the result of that is an increase in stock prices. So some people are seeing that. All right. This will make banks more willing to lend also. On the other side of that, for people that have their money in savings accounts, the savings accounts will be earning less money. All right. So this is an attempt to help the economy. Fed rate cut. So the end result, prices will still be high. But they are trying to do something to help with the economy. There's a weakened economy, as you know, because of all the layoffs happening, unemployment happening. So they decided to cut the rates December 10th by 25 basis points. So lower rate on your credit card, lower rate on the small business loan, lower rate on personal loans, lower interest rate on HELOCs. So you may see that and you may not because it's still high, even though they're doing what they can to save the economy and they want to prevent the economy from going into a recession. So this just happened on December 10th. Again, if you're in the stock market, then you saw an increase in your stocks. So let's talk about quantitative easing. All right, quantitative easing is what they do if the Fed cut rates don't work. So they want to keep inflation to around 2%. It's higher than that, of course. Quantitative easing will be the next step that they will go to if the Fed rate cut doesn't work. And so let's talk about what quantitative easing is. So quantitative easing. So what they do is they create new money, they print money electronically. So creating new money electronically. Wouldn't that be nice to just be able to create your own money electronically? Well, that's what they're doing. They're creating new money electronically. Then they go buy US Treasury bonds and mortgage backed securities. So the feds, they buy these bonds, they buy these mortgage backed securities, and then the Fed will pay for the bonds with the money that they just printed. Then the bank has access to more money, and therefore the bank can lend out more loans. So essentially, what quantitative easing is injecting cash into the system. This encourages borrowing, it encourages investing, it encourages spending, and at the same time, it's supporting stocks and real estate. So, quantitative easing, the after effects of that, um, we are not at that point yet. But if they ever decided to do quantitative easing, the result of that is that the rich get richer faster. It also increases economic inequality. All right, and that is quantitative easing. If you if you hear the term and you're interested in that. Alrighty. So as you know, we got increased layoffs, increased unemployment, increased prices. The Fed, they want to avoid a recession. And what are they doing? They are cutting rates. They are making the money cheaper so that we'll have more access to borrowing, more spending, and the prices are still high, as you know, and inflation is still high, as you know. Again, the quantitative easing, that is a second step if the rate cut doesn't work. The rate cut, the bottom line you will see from that is you will see an increase in your stock prices with the rate cut. Quantitative easing, the bottom line that you would see with that, it would be stocks, crypto, and real estate surge. So if you are in these asset classes, you would benefit very much from quantitative easing. So if you're in stocks, you're going to benefit. If you're in crypto, you're going to benefit. And if you are in real estate, you're going to benefit from quantitative easing. All right. So what can you do to prepare? What can you do to prepare? All right. So savings. So at least 6 months of savings. And this is in the event that anything were to happen. You would get laid off, you would get fired, you would still have your savings. Or even if that's not going on, maybe something else is going on. Maybe you are um, having a child and you can't work right now. There's all kind of things that go on. So having that savings is very important. At least 6 months. All right. What else can you do to prepare? Stay away from bad debt. All right. Bad debt is anything that is not increasing your net worth. Right. So credit cards, you got credit card debt, work on paying those credit cards off. Um, any other kind of consumer debt, work on paying that off. However, on the other side of that, when it comes to buying assets, generally people buy assets with debt. All right. So we got two different kinds of debt going on, and you want to try to stay away from the bad debt, which is not easy to do all the time, right? Things break down, you may need to charge, you know, things happen, right? But you want to try to stay on top of that and at least have some kind of plan. Like you if you're in credit card debt, have some kind of plan. You're going to put this amount of money every week on this card until it gets paid off. All right, having some kind of plan. All right, staying away from bad debt or having some kind of plan to get that paid off. What else can you do to prepare? Own assets. Focusing on owning assets. And that's the missing piece for a lot of people. If only we had been told about assets what in the in our 20s. That is something. Well, it's better late than never. That's all I can say is own assets. What are assets? Rental property. So doing everything you can to get you some property. Stocks. Doing everything that you can to get you some stocks. And business. Venturing off into the business world. You can create your own business or you can buy a business. And I listen to other podcasts, and the other podcasters are saying that it's better to buy a business than to start one from scratch. And if you're watching me and you have an opinion on that, feel free to leave that in the comments. Inquiring minds would like to know. So that's another thing you do to prepare is own assets. Like I said, it is better late than never. And some people are in that never category. There are people out here that never bought rental property. There are people out here that have never bought stocks. And there are people out here that have never owned a business. And I don't fault you for that, right? I don't fault you for that. But what I'm saying is, it's better late than never. All right. So that is another thing you do to prepare is own assets. And then lastly, playing the long game. Playing the long game in the stock market. All right. Very important to be in there for the long term. And we're talking about 10 years, 15 years. So you can let that compound interest work and let it compound. All right. Now, that may be easier said than done, but if you fall off the horse, all I can say is get back on. Get back on the horse. All right. So that is what is happening. Fed rate cut, December 10th. They are trying to help the economy. So do you notice any difference? Do you notice any difference? Be honest. Be honest. Do you notice any difference? Now, you may notice a difference if you're in the stock market. All right. So do me a favor. If you like this channel, I need for you to do me a favor. Hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need for you to do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it so that you will not miss an episode. One other thing to prepare that I didn't mention is budgeting. But before you budget, get a list out and put all your income. What's all your income? And then what is all your expenses? And look to see, do you have enough income to meet your expenses? And if the answer is no, what's the game plan on getting it to meet all of your income, all of your expenses? And just take a hard look at what's going on. All right. So thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget, on your way out, I need for you to hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need for you to do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you will not miss an episode. Tune into the channel. I will be interviewing people. I interview real estate investors. I interview entrepreneurs. I interview people that own different types of businesses. So tune in for that Also, if you're interested in improving your finances, check out the free newsletter below. Thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget, on your way out, hit that like button, and I will see you on the next video.